The United States Department of Defense has released its first tranche of previously classified files on unidentified flying objects, following an order from US President Donald Trump in February. The release on Friday contained 162 files dating back decades, including documents from the FBI, the Department of State, and the US space agency, NASA. It was accompanied by the launch of a new, heavily stylized website to house the documents using white typewriter-style font against a black background. South Africa's highest court has cleared the way for the revival of impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa, ruling that Parliament's decision to block an inquiry 4 years ago was inconsistent with the Constitution. Ramaphosa avoided impeachment proceedings in 2022 after his governing African National Congress, ANC party, used its parliamentary majority to reject a recommendation by an independent panel that he face an inquiry into the theft of a large sum of cash from his farmhouse 2 years earlier. The scandal, dubbed Farmgate, sparked accusations that he had failed to properly account for the source of the money hidden in a sofa.
And Glasgow, United Kingdom voters in England's local council elections have delivered a damning verdict of Labour as it took hundreds of seats from the UK's governing party, and in what is seen as another major blow for Prime Minister Keir Starmer. While many results from Thursday's municipal poll in England have yet to be declared, and the populist right-wing Reform UK party have made sweeping gains at the expense of Labour, which has so far lost some 300 councillors across the 136 competing English councils. And Football Players Union IFIF is hailing a landmark legal win after a European rights body agreed to investigate whether the French state failed to uphold labour standards for professional footballers. And the unanimous decision by the European Committee of Social Rights in March marks the first time a players' union has successfully advanced a collective complaint under the European Social Charter. And it paves the way for an investigation into whether France has failed to ensure proper working conditions for professional players, including minors.
Hundreds of South Koreans will cheer for a North Korean women's football team when it makes a rare trip across the border for a continental semi-final this month. North Korea's Naegoryang Women's FC will play the South Suwon FC Women on May 20 in the Asian Champions League.
The Trump administration on Friday launched a new website that will house a collection of new, never-before-seen files about UFOs, according to the Pentagon. And yes, we're apparently okay with calling them UFOs again, as the URL to the new website is war.gov.ufo. in a public announcement by the Defense Department, which, under Trump, rebranded as the Department of War. The initial set of files housed on the site will include those containing unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP, videos, photos, and original source documents from across the entire US government. The materials have been reviewed for security purposes, but many have not yet been analysed for resolution of any anomalies, the department's statement read.
Google has announced the Fitbit Air, a new screenless fitness tracker designed for Android and iOS users. Alongside the new Google Health app that will replace the Fitbit app, the Fitbit Air joins the growing category of screenless fitness bands and is positioned as an alternative to devices such as the Whoop band. Unlike some competitors, the Fitbit Air does not require a subscription to function.
Islamabad. Senators on Friday voiced alarm over rising violent crimes against women and demanded stronger measures to improve the conviction rate, which the presiding officer, PPP Vice President Sherry Rehman, said stood at only 5%. The debate began after Balochistan Senator Nasima Ehsan raised the killing of Rubina Chandio for alleged honor in Sindh's Tando Masti. Washington. A courtroom clash with US War Secretary Pete Hegseth is rapidly transforming Democratic Senator Mark Kelly into one of the most closely watched potential challengers to President Donald Trump ahead of the 2028 US presidential election. A federal appeals court on Thursday appeared skeptical of Pentagon efforts to punish the retired astronaut and Navy officer over remarks urging US troops to refuse illegal orders, with judges sharply questioning whether the government's case could stand constitutional scrutiny.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has accused the US of opting for a reckless military adventure every time a diplomatic solution is on the table. Iranians would never bow to pressure, Araghchi said in a post on X, a day after both sides accused each other of launching attacks in the Strait of Hormuz.
And the hard-right Reform UK party, led by Nigel Farage, has surged in England's local elections while the governing Labour Party has slumped, and deepening doubts about Prime Minister Keir Starmer's ability to govern, and further splintering Britain's traditional two-party political system. And results announced early Friday showed that the Reform Party of Farage, a chief architect of Brexit and an ally of US President Donald Trump, had gained more than 600 seats, while Labour had lost more than 450. And the Conservative Party, the other half of the duopoly that has dominated British politics for more than a century, lost nearly 300 seats. And the porn website Motherless, which has faced international scrutiny over hosting content linked to gender-based violence and drug-facilitated sexual assault, has been taken offline by Dutch authorities following mounting pressure in the wake of a CNN investigation. Spokesperson for the Dutch Public Prosecution Service told CNN that the site had been taken down by Dutch authorities and that prosecutors in Zeeland-West Brabant had opened a preliminary investigation.
Financially embattled Egyptian club Zamalek will pocket a record 4 meters CAF Confederation Cup prize if they beat Algerian outfit USM Alger in the two-leg final. USM the first match on Saturday in front of a 50,000 crowd, and the return game is set for Cairo on May 16 in a showdown between former winners of the competition.
The 10th Palestine International Marathon has been run in the occupied West Bank city of Bethlehem, with a parallel race held in Gaza after a 2-year hiatus caused by Israel's war on the Strip. The 42-kilometre race began at 6 a.m. local time, 03 GMT on Friday, with thousands of Palestinian and international runners gathering at the traditional starting point, the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem.
And Botswana's former president, Festus Mogae, has died at the age of 86. As the government has announced, along with 3 days of national mourning, Mogae led the southern African country for a decade and won praise for good governance and the fight against HIV-Dengue. He was Botswana's third president from 1998 to 2008, handing power to Vice President Ian Khama in a smooth transition that highlighted Botswana's reputation for political stability.
If you're planning to raise a Series A in the next 12 to 24 months, the rules you think you're playing by may already be outdated. Series A isn't just harder, it's slower, more selective, and increasingly unforgiving. The bar has shifted, and many founders are still optimizing for a version of the market that no longer exists. Sweden-based caller ID company Truecaller said it will cut 70 jobs, or roughly 15% of its workforce, in the second quarter as the company posted its Q1 2026 results with a decline in revenue and profits. Truecaller blamed real money gaming in India, changes in advertising partner algorithms, and conflict in the Middle East for the slide. As TechCrunch reported last month, the company is already facing challenges from India's telecom-led solutions, such as calling name presentation, CNAP identification service, and 5% year-on-year decline in downloads last year.
Pakistan's Ministry of Interior has rejected reports circulating in sections of the media and on social media regarding alleged targeted deportations of Pakistani nationals from the United Arab Emirates, UAE, calling the claims malafide and part of a vicious propaganda campaign. In a statement issued on Friday, The ministry said it had reviewed the available details and data and found no evidence of any country or sect-specific deportation campaign being carried out by the UAE. Australia on Friday imposed sanctions on the Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, and 3 of its senior leaders, according to a statement from Foreign Minister Penny Wong's office. The Australian government has today imposed counter-terrorism financing sanctions on the Balochistan Liberation Army and 3 senior leaders for their engagement in and support of terrorist attacks, said the statement dated May 8.
And the Pentagon on Friday released a first batch of previously secret files documenting reported sightings of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, some as far back as the 1940s, a move sought for decades by some Americans. These files, mine classifications, have long fueled justified speculation, and it's time the American people see it for themselves. War Secretary Pete Hegseth said in a statement.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has met United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Rome as tensions grow between Italy and Washington over the US-Israel war on Iran. Rubio arrived in Italy on Friday for a 2-day visit to ease tensions after Italy refused to back the US-Israeli war and amid backlash over US President Donald Trump's attacks on Pope Leo.
And after years of hints and preparation, the Uber-backed electric bike and scooter rental startup Lime has filed for an initial public offering. The company, which is incorporated as Neutron Holdings Inc. and has eyed the public markets for at least 5 years. CEO Sir Wayne Ting last told TechCrunch in 2023 about the prospect of an IPO, noting at the time that Lime had the economics, the growth and the profitability to take the startup public. All that was required was proper market conditions.
Today is the last day. At 11:59 p.m. PT, the 50% off second pass offer for TechCrunch Disrupt 2026 ends. After that, prices go up and the option to bring a partner, co-founder or colleague with you at half the cost disappears. Registered now to lock in your savings. Save up to $410 on your pass and get 50% on a second pass.
And the Punjab government has released $2 billion for the construction of a 286-bed general hospital in Laya, according to district administration officials. Officials said funds have also been allocated in the current fiscal year for the establishment of a medical college adjacent to the proposed hospital. And Deputy Commissioner Islamabad has announced the establishment of 6 official cattle markets across the federal capital ahead of Eid al-Adha, with operations scheduled to begin from May 10. According to the district administration, the cattle markets will be set up at Zia Masjid, I-12, Barakahu, Letra Road, Sultana Foundation, Sangjani and Japan Road.
OnePlus has launched the Nord CE6 with a Snapdragon 7's Gen 4 processor, a high refresh rate AMOLED display, and a large 8,000 mAh battery. The OnePlus Nord CE6 features a 6.78-inch AMOLED display with 1.5K resolution and a 144 Hz refresh rate. The panel supports up to wetting 800 nits of brightness in high brightness mode. The Interior Ministry on Friday denied reports about the targeted deportation of Pakistanis from the United Arab Emirates, asserting that no country or sect-specific expulsions from any country, including the UAE, were being carried out. The ministry's statement contradicts claims on social media that Pakistanis were being deported from the UAE without any reason.
And some people just don't do reciprocity. With one hand they take, and with the other they also take. The premise of the drama, Pehel, is that in a marriage you want more than a master-slave relationship. And while one can occasionally need social and material support from those around them, the gendered aspect of this equation is rather unsavory, especially when the one being served is a man and the women are the obligatory givers. And women chronically break their backs to provide for the men around them, and Caerfield takes us through the tipping point of this cultural crisis.
Banu, a high-profile terrorist who was killed in a recent operation by security forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Banu district, was a member of the Afghan Taliban regime's special forces, security sources said on Friday. Security sources said the terrorist, Fatihullah alias Mudassir, was an active member of Yarmouk 60 Special Forces Battalion. The unit operates under the Taliban regime's Ministry of Interior Affairs. Health authorities across the globe are racing to trace dozens of people who disembarked from a cruise ship before an outbreak of hantavirus was detected, and anyone who has come into close contact with them since. 5 cases have now been confirmed, including 3 deaths following an outbreak on the Dutch vessel MV Hondius, the World Health Organization has said.